welcome to the 62nd episode of PauseCast. It is Friday, the 3rd of November, 2017. I am Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him.
I'm Ashe, and I use she, her.
Welcome to the show. We have Ashe back with us again, and we have had a bit of a week, I would say. I've been playing some interesting stuff. I know Ashe has been playing some interesting stuff. And Mark has been playing...
Yeah. Well, no, that's the thing, right? We're recording on Friday because I basically played nothing. So last night we all tried out Dying Light the Following, so I've actually played something.
Yeah, and I've got some stuff to talk about with that, because that was a really, really cool... It was a really, really cool thing.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Very fun.
As it turns out, the addition of vehicles was really good. Let's get into let's start with Mark, because Mark has not been playing, a lot. So what have you played this week, Mark?
So before that, just part of the reason why I haven't been playing stuff is because I've been doing some work on my own projects. And one thing I just want to plug is... if you're a New Zealander or you're in New Zealand, then there's a law that says you can ask the government for information and they have to give it to you. It's really cool. It's called the Official Information Act. And I've been using it for a few years, but it's been kind of daunting to get into. So I've written a guide. So if you ever decide you want to ask the New Zealand government for information and you're not quite sure how, check out oia.nz. That's OIA for Official Information Act. And hopefully that'll be helpful. So that's what I've been doing this week, but not playing.
It's a really useful project, and I think we've talked before on the show about your involvement in local politics and stuff, and how that sort of involvement is important. And you have done some important work with this, so thank you for doing that and doing some public good with your web development skills.
Thanks, Jess. But yeah, that's been my biggest thing this week. But also I've played a bit more of Shadow of War, a whole bunch of Dying Light the Following last night, which was really cool. And just this evening, Jess has had me play through the intro to Prey, which was pretty interesting.
That is the 2017 Prey.
Yeah, Bethesda published it or developed it, I forget which is which.
Published by...
That sounds right.
Yeah, published by Bethesda, and then developed by Arcane, who made the Dishonored games.
Right, yeah. So I've played probably 20 minutes, half an hour of that, I think.
Yeah, just enough to get you past the intro stuff in that.
Yeah, but some shit happens in the intro. It's pretty cool.
I want to talk about that later.
Yeah.
Let's put that on the back burner.
Let's
go to Ashe first, though.
Yep.
Ashe, what have you played this week?
Oh...
So this week was Hell Week, because on October 27th, 3 of the biggest games of the year all launched simultaneously, and that is Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, Assassin's Creed Origins, and Super Mario Odyssey. And all of these games, huge games, and highly anticipated, all launched on the same day. And so this was Hell Week for games journalists. If you're a games journalist and you were working that beat, by the way, thank you for doing your job, especially during this busy time of year. I know that multiple game launches can be stressful. It's stressful for the devs as well, and shout out to all the devs out there who are involved in getting these games to market, but also to the journalists who then have to go through all of the stuff that has been put together quite meticulously. I think I can speak for the team when I say I'm pretty thankful for the services of all those folks. Everyone involved in the process of getting a game done and thought about is really important. So thank you.
Yeah, luckily there's not much coming out in November, so they can relax for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I guess Call of Duty is coming out.
Oh, it was Call of Duty, Horizon DLC. I think PC
That's
release.
the one that I'm looking forward to, the Horizon DLC.
It looks real pretty.
I've avoided looking, but I can totally believe that.
Sonic Forces, I think, is November.
Oh, so yeah, so like an easy 6 out of 10 game. That's
Yeah, New Need for Speed, LA Noire remastered. I was joking. There's still a lot coming out in November, but
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds sometime in December is hitting 1.0.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, coincidentally, on October 27th, I noticed that PlayStation was having a Halloween horror game sale. So I also picked up Resident Evil 7 on that day. Just a lot of games on October 27th.
So of those 3 big ones, how many have you got?
2. We got Wolfenstein and we have Assassin's Creed Origins because we don't have a Switch, which I believe Odyssey is only for Switch.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. I desperately wish I had a Switch so I could play Odyssey, to be honest.
This is not a nice thing for me to say, but in my head, I just find it so strange that Mario is still a thing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not just me. I mean, for people who are into it, it's totally cool, and I don't want to take that away or diminish the work that's been done. It's been a character that has done worse than not click for me. It's just seemed actively weird in a way that doesn't excite me at all, I guess.
Very uninteresting, right?
Yeah, for me at least. I don't know. A lot of people seem to be into it, and I'm sure they're fun games, but I've never really got into it, so I find it strange that it's been able to stick around so long.
You're tapping into a very long conversation Jess and I have very frequently.
Yeah, no. Me and Ashe have had long conversations about why Mario doesn't click with her, and a lot of it comes back to story. The story of Mario and Bowser and Peach isn't necessarily the most interesting thing.
But yeah, the whole conversation, it seems to, for me anyway, I have more patience for a game that has maybe not great mechanics, but very interesting story and characters versus the other way around. The original Nier was, I think, graphically, mechanically, the quest structure even was not a great game, but the music and the characters and the story were really, really interesting. That despite most outlets giving it a 5 out of 10, I still played that game 4 times because the narrative was enough to pull me through. But a game like Neo or Mario, for example, which are mechanically very, very solid, it just isn't enough interesting things going on for me to actually want to play it beyond an initial, okay, I see what this is doing. This is very well made mechanically, but yeah, I don't have the interest to pull me through an entire game.
I think for me it's similar, but it's not so much does it have a narrative or not, because Kingdom Hearts is a game that's known for having a good story, right? But yeah. I don't think it's something I'd be able to get into for the same reason as Mario, which is that it seems like a joke. With Goofy and Mickey Mouse and stuff in Kingdom Hearts, and just Mario, he's a plumber with a big moustache who wears a hat with his initial on it. And there's something about mushrooms. The whole thing seems like it's a joke about weird character design. And I don't know. That puts me off.
I think that's leading me down the road of wanting to think about how was Mario even originally conceptualized? And the answer to that is, of course, he was the protagonist of the Donkey Kong game where you had even that's whack though, because it's just a big fucking monkey who has kidnapped a woman and is just throwing barrels at you, which it's King Kong, I guess. It's King Kong-esque, but a protagonist had to be conceived for that, and so it was this everyman, and then it's kind of sprouted outwards into a weird kind of friendly cartoony aesthetic, and a whole universe built around that. A lot of the Mario universe is kind of based around very bare character designs and like enemy designs and stuff like that. Like it's all very, very simplistic, and it can be traced back to the Super Nintendo not having a ton of power. It's like you can't render anything that's super detailed. And as you just try to adapt that style further and further, like you are just naturally going to progress into making weird 3D characters that are simple and relatively charming looking.
Yeah, I suppose the fact that it's had to carry, or chosen to perhaps, carry its legacy all this way is going to be a big contributor to just the weirdness of it, I guess.
I think that really is like the root of it is like, yeah, they've tried to carry its legacy and keep the very basic designs that were present from day one in Mario as a thing. This is really interesting and stuff I hadn't actually thought about. Like, how did this come to happen? And it's like, oh, like it all kind of tracks in my mind.
I think just with the Kingdom Hearts Mario comparison, like I completely see that. Oh, Kingdom Hearts is a super weird thing, but I think why I don't have the same reaction is like it's completely buck wild, but there are more fleshed out characters, whereas in the Mario games, it's all pretty thin.
Yeah, I think we've got different reasons for not liking Mario, which is why Kingdom Hearts doesn't click for me, but you might like it.
Yeah, sure.
Because I can totally see that. Anyway, though, I kind of turned the conversation onto the one game that none of us have played.
I mean,
like that's cool, though.
Oh, yeah, but I think I also kind of took that tangent away from Ashe, what you've been playing.
Yeah, Ash, what have you been playing this week?
I'll start off with clearly the best one, Animal Crossing Pocket Camper.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because like that is okay. So that is available for Australian like iTunes accounts and Google Play accounts at the moment.
Yeah. So it's the one benefit to being an Australian. I got to play Animal Crossing early, and it's really, really good and really cute. Like I haven't played any of the mainline Animal Crossing, so I wasn't sure how well it would work, but like it's made me probably not interested enough to go and actually play one of the mainline ones, but if there was a new one coming out, I'd probably be interested in it. Like it's captured my interest for the series. It's just really cute and a really well implemented mobile game, which doesn't always necessarily work, but like I think Nintendo have been unhappy about Mario Run. It's been pretty successful in terms of downloads, but I think they're unhappy with the profits they've turned from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were talking about that this week. Like, Super Mario Run was downloaded 200 million times or something like that.
Wow.
Like that was the number, but like it's not a paid app. It's a free app that you can just get.
Right.
And then you can spend $10 and you get the rest of the game.
So you just play like a small part of it.
Yeah, you play like the first world, I think is what is in that like free download, and then it's like if you pay $10 now that you've tried this out, you can unlock the rest of the game. And I think there must have been like a significant enough drop off from that like Nintendo was not happy, but also like we don't know what it means because as some folks on the Giant Bombcast pointed out this week, like they just said, oh, it didn't turn as much profit as we would have wanted, and that could mean anything. That could mean it was wildly successful, but not wildly successful enough. Mm-hmm. It could mean it actually did poorly. It could mean that the ratio of people who picked up that game versus paying for it was not in the range that they were looking for. It wasn't specific, like it was supposed to make this much money, and we didn't hit that target. Mm-hmm. It was very vague and could mean anything.
Ultimately, I think daily active users is a more useful metric for this kind of thing than total downloads. But yeah, there are microtransactions in the Animal Crossing game, and it seems like that will probably be more profitable than Mario. The microtransactions basically amount to buying these things called leaf tickets, which can speed up the process of things. So like I guess the bulk of the game is you're running a campsite, and as you level up, there are new furries. They're furries. New furries you can meet to invite to hang out and stuff. And they're very particular about what they like. So if you meet someone, you're like, hey, come to my campsite. They're like, you need to have these 5 things if you want me to visit, which you have to craft. And to begin with, most of them only take 3 minutes. But then you can get into the territory of like, this will be done in 12 hours. Or you can use these leaf tickets to speed up the process. And I think a lot of people, just because of how fun the game is, will probably lean towards dropping some money on it just to speed things up. It just, from a little bit of Mario I played, it seems like more money will. People probably drop more money on Animal Crossing than the Mario Run.
I think Mario Run was also like a one-time investment.
Yeah, true.
This is going to sound real bad, but I'm confused. Where's the fun part?
I understand.
Sorry.
The fun part is like in the interactions with the characters and stuff like that, and like there is quite a bit of customization. I'll talk about, like, I've been playing Animal Crossing New Leaf, which is one of the mainline games. I played it a bunch today because I wanted a bus game, and Ashe is playing like Animal Crossing Pocket Camper. Got me thinking, oh yeah, you know what? I could just like go back to Animal Crossing, and so I did. And like the reason for that is like it's charming. It's got a great art style. There's a lot of customization. There is a lot of cute furries. I'm always down for games with cute furries. Game devs, get at me. And like it's chill. Animal Crossing is uniquely chill, unlike any other game that I've ever like played. And it offers a set of like very relaxing, very like rustic feeling, just basic activities. It's just like, hey, you know what? You can go fishing. You can go catch some bugs. You can customize your home, get outfits, get furniture. It has a really, really great loop of like going to do things like fishing and like collecting fruit around the town, collecting seashells. And you'll like see different things along the way as you do that. And you'll see all these different characters, and they'll often have little tasks for you as well. And it creates this really good loop of like that feeds into the customization and also to like collection. Like you can catch every type of fish, you can catch every type of bug, you can get all the items in a certain furniture set, something like that. But like you ultimately are constantly building towards something and constantly seeing like interesting things in that world that create a really relaxing and really, really fun and engaging gameplay loop. And then everything changes like every day. Like all the shop stocks will like rotate out every day.
Every 3 hours.
Oh, it's every day in like the mainline.
Yeah, right.
Like there's always kind of new stuff to do, and that's what makes that game so appealing.
I think mobile is the perfect home for it in this like free to play sort of thing, because I had the same reaction to the main games. I was like, well, what's the point? Like I had the classic like, well, how do you win? And you just you build your town, you build things, and you talk to these people. I'm like, that seems cute, but also seems like not something I wouldn't super be into. But I don't know, having on mobile as something you can just open every now and again, like when you're waiting for a bus or waiting for something, just I'll play a little bit and then close it. I think it works really well in that setting.
Cool.
Other than that, Assassin's Creed Origins and Wolfenstein, and holy shit, they do some things.
Yeah?
Some stuff happens in Wolfenstein. Do you want to talk about Assassin's Creed Origins? Because that is the game that I have not been playing this week.
Yeah, I haven't gone super far into it yet.
I have heard that intro is bad.
Intro? It's a bit fractured. It's a bit like... It jumps around a little bit to the point where I was like, I don't know I'm not 100%.
Yeah, like a common thread I've heard about the intro to Assassin's Creed Origins is it feels like you've missed 20 minutes of like gameplay and cinematics beforehand.
Yeah,
And so you're just dropped into a thing that's happening, and it's like, what's going on? I don't understand any
basically. It's like, it seems to be a thing as you go on, more stuff is contextualized. So it's that sort of, I know, in media rather than flashback sort of thing, I think. I don't know if I used that term correctly.
You did, yeah.
I did, okay. But beyond that, which was a bit confusing, really, really liking it. It's Jess and I had a lot of conversations about it. I won't get into it too much, but I really did not care for Assassin's Creed Unity and Syndicate. And after those two, I had basically, like, I don't even think I'm going to pick up the next Assassin's Creed. And then I think the time off for the studio was good. And what I've seen so far, they've managed to create a really, really good game again. It's gorgeous to look at. The locations are very good. It's a massive, massive open world, as opposed to just like one contained city like the previous two. The combat's probably the newest thing.
Yeah, they've made it really different, right? Because previously it was always like counter based, whereas now it's like more Dark Souls-y.
Yeah. So like from Assassin's Creed 1 up until about 4, up until Black Flag had kind of a counter-based system. Like you said, it was really, really fun in my opinion. Just for the sense of like the power fantasy it gave you, playing like a very cool assassin guy.
Yeah, I just remember throwing spears into people's faces.
Yeah, I used to like because you had the option to fight unarmed or with like wrist blades or whatever. Just
being
surrounded by people.
But you'd just be amazing if you did it well.
Yeah, like being surrounded by people with no weapons, just like, all right, come on.
Yeah.
But it was arguably too easy, and then they changed it for Syndicate and Unity to more of an Arkham style thing, which I have never been a fan of that combat.
I want to be clear, only for Syndicate. Unity is like...
No, Unity, they did it too.
No,
Was Unity the one that was super bugged?
Yeah, it was the one that was super buggy at launch. Unity like has a much like slower and more methodical version of that combat that maybe doesn't jive well with Assassin's Creed in general. I really liked it, but like it definitely feels like slow and plodding, even when you're using weapons that theoretically should be moving quite fast. You have to like wait for the right opportunity to strike, and there's no real like guard or counter abilities.
From memory, I thought Unity's combat was more similar to Syndicate than like Black Flag.
No. It's like Syndicate is such an entirely different beast from anything that came before it, Unity included. It's kind of wild.
I'll have to watch it after the show. It's been a while since I played it.
I can put it up for you after the show and just like show you. I have a save that's a little bit into that.
But yeah. Anyway, that could be good. Yeah, Origins is much more. I don't want to fall into that trap, but more Dark Souls-esque, I guess, than any other game. That's probably the best example, I think.
I feel like its influences seem clear, and that it's like from what I've seen of that combat, and this was like early days when I last saw it, so like it may have changed since then. I've kind of avoided AC Origins content. Besides like the occasional thing that's come up in Polygon, like I've kind of actively avoided seeing it. But the last I saw of it, it looked like what I would describe as a fusion between For Honor and Dark Souls. It reminded me of both in equal parts. Mostly the pacing of For Honor with the kind of like with the lock-on and like pre-done or animation locked combat that I would expect from Dark Souls.
Yeah, kind of. Like there's a parry system too, which feels very very Dark Souls. Not as punishing or as hard to pull off, but
yeah, no, I there was no expectation that it would be half as punishing.
Oh yeah.
Or hard to pull off as Souls. Like I don't think anybody could reasonably expect that out of an Assassin's Creed game, but like the influences that it is taking and then making more accessible are, I think, clear.
One thing that I've watched a bit of Assassin's Creed Origins with my younger brother playing it, and I've been impressed with how they seem to have gotten many different weapon types that feel different. They don't just have like sword. They've got various types of sword that might be slashing or stabbing, and you've got different ranging sets and stuff.
That was something that Unity did really well with as well. I felt like I think Ashe disagrees with me on this.
No, I think Unity was probably the way it implemented different weapons. I think was the best they've done it since Assassin's Creed 2. Like in both games,
I think it was better than that even. Like AC2. I totally interrupted you, and I'm sorry for being an asshole. Do you want to finish your point? Sorry, and I will then make mine.
Okay. So Assassin's Creed 2, I think, actually had maybe possibly the best weapons in the entire series, just for the fact that like giant great axes or spears, and they all had like really unique movesets, and you could throw them all. And
the spears were my favorite. Like when you counter someone with a spear, when you're using a spear, and you just that was the one where you throw the spear in their face, right?
Yeah.
That was the most memorable thing in the game for me because it's like the thing that I remember now, years and years later. That felt really good.
Yeah, I just remember people running away and you just heave this like two-handed great axe at them.
Oh, yes!
And again with the spear, like you had a giant like leg sweep attack and you could kick up sand in people's eyes, and it just felt like super, super cool, which I think other games, for reasons completely unknown to me, seem to have removed that stuff. And also in Assassin's Creed 2 was it Monteriggioni? Was that?
Yes.
You had like an actual like weapon, like an armory, and you could go and pick any weapon, and then you just go out into the world with that weapon. And Unity kind of didn't bring it back physically, I don't think, but you had kind of like an inventory where you could summon, like you could choose whatever weapon you wanted to use, and there were spears and axes and swords, and kind of brought back that weapon diversity.
Now in Origins, you've basically got the Destiny UI for your equipment.
Yeah, basically. There are like rare and legendary and like exotic weapons, and like you were saying, there's like a wide assortment of different weapons you can use, and they all have different movesets and different executions, and you can have like 2 at a time equipped once you've upgraded your skill tree a little bit, so you could have in one slot like I want to have these 2 kind of like short sword dagger-esque weapons as like a quick thing, and then in my second slot I want to have a giant pole or like a heavy weapon to try and break shields. Same with bows, so I thought it'd just be like, oh yeah, there's bows, but there are some bows that fire multiple arrows at once, and
my brother was using a burst fire bow, basically.
Yeah. The coolest one's called Predator Bows, which actually, once you upgrade your skill tree to a certain perk, you get an aftertouch effect on the arrow, and you can actually like kind of control it in midair.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's tricky to do, but it's really, really cool.
So something like the way that you two were talking about that, the way that you two were talking about that stuff was like you were remembering a system that didn't exist for me when I was playing that game. I feel like I just straight up did not notice that weapon stuff had existed at all, nor did I know that like if you brought it out of that, like out of Monteriggioni, however you pronounce that, God, it's been so long. But like the more that you like, I thought you couldn't bring it out for some reason or another, and so I never used that system, and I was just like always using the wrist blades.
I don't recall taking weapons out so much as, oh, there's someone with a spear. I want to fight them so I can kill them and pick up their spear.
Yeah.
Right.
Could do that at least, yeah.
But like I remember, there was the axes and the spears. When you were using them and you countered another like person with an extra spear because they were like the better guards, then it'll sort of use up that weapon because you're like, oh, the person with the axe will break your spear in half, or it'll get stuck in them when they die, and you will have to like go and pick up their body for it to drop the spear or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember much more because it's been so damn long.
Yeah, for sure.
But the spears were just my favourite in that game.
Yeah. Syndicate, I think, was the most disappointing in terms of weapon types because it was just, I think it was held back by the setting, like the time period, because it was like too far in the future that people weren't really going to be running around with like medieval weaponry, like cool swords and spears and everything, but too far back in time that they didn't have good guns yet. So it was like you still had bad guns, but we're also limited basically to, it's like brass knuckles, I think a cane sword and a kukri, I think.
Yep, that's accurate.
Yeah. So it felt, I think, especially going from the previous games, like in Black Flag, you could dual wield swords and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. You had like 4 guns and stuff, to arguably kind of boring weapons. And yeah, I don't know. Syndicate was a big improvement of Unity in a lot of ways, but it burnt me out a bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Origins has reignited my interest in the series. And nice. There do appear to be actual outside of the Animus segments. Like I haven't really done them yet, like done anything. I just know they exist. But
they kind of dropped that, right? Like,
yeah, they had dropped that.
Gave up on the outside of the Animus story stuff that they had in the first few games, and they just sort of decided, well, why are we doing this? It kind of felt.
Yeah,
I've thought the same thing for a while. Why are you doing that? Just make a game set in Egypt and don't worry about the freaking Animus crap.
I know I'm in the minority for this, but I am one of the, I think, few people that actually care about the outside of Animus story, because it gives purpose to why the inside the Animus story is happening.
I cared more at the start because it hadn't settled into a yearly thing. Now that it has, it just doesn't feel like that story is going to make any meaningful progression.
Right.
Because they can't end it. Because then there'll be no more Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
I'm of two minds about the outside the Animus story. I don't think it's been very good since 3, which had one of my favorite outside of Animus stories.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's the one where you can actually climb for once, right?
Yeah, you can actually, you are actually, taking on... Well, I mean, you can do a little bit of that in 2, just a little bit. But, it really kind of fleshed out the stuff that you could do in there and actually provided, heavily scripted sequences that were based on that. Mm-hmm. And I really, really dug that. But yeah, I haven't liked it really since then.
Yeah. I think if they would have just finished the main story and then, they don't have to stop making the games. I just wish they would wrap up the current plot threads that they have hanging out, because at the end of 3 with the whole Juno or Minerva or whoever it was is released into the world, and then they've not progressed on that yet. So it's sort of I know 3 ends on kind of a big cliffhanger, and then they haven't done much since then to actually address it. They did a little bit in 4, but not enough.
Something that I would be I would describe myself as way more interested in would be the actual end of the Assassin's Creed story. It's not that I don't like the games. It's that I would like to see this series come to an end with a game that is fully set in the modern day. And I think there's some interesting possibilities and things that can be done by just moving the Assassin's Creed setting into the modern day. I think that is ultimately where the series needs to go, and that it's maybe time to wrap up that series and start working on something new. And
Yeah, like a final Templar assassin showdown.
Yeah, I think it felt originally in the first few games like that was what it was leading up towards.
yeah, that is ultimately what I believe those, like, that original trilogy of games. I say trilogy because Assassin's Creed 2 was in 3 parts.
Yeah.
I think that original trilogy really was building up to that. And then 4 was like, hey, we're actually going back further than Assassin's Creed 3, but not as far as Assassin's Creed 2 to this weird in-between era. Enjoy that, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like they've abandoned the original thing they were leading up towards. And I think, this might just be my interpretation of it, and it's completely wrong. But it feels to me like that abandonment is tied in very much with, this is just a franchise where we can make a new game each year and get a ton of money, so why would we stop? It's a Call of Duty kind of thing. They just make a new one each year. So you can't progress the story too far, because then you'd finish it, and how do you make a new one when you finish the story?
And I wonder if Assassin's Creed Origins will then, provide the final piece of context in its Out of Animus sequences.
I hope so.
That it then allows for that series to come to an end in the modern day setting, whether that be an end to the series completely or a just end to that modern day thread entirely, and we drop all pretext of it afterwards. It's just and go to something like, hey, you're an assassin, and we want you to learn more about your culture and history, so we have this simulation for you of ancient assassins. Here you go, enjoy.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I honestly think...
I have no expectation that it'll happen, but I can dream.
I don't think Assassin's Creed will end. I think it will fizzle eventually.
I think what Ashe was describing with Unity and Syndicate was something that was, I would say, widely shared within the Assassin's Creed fandom. Just my interest in this series has really, really waned, and Origins is going to bring a lot of those people back.
Yeah.
But I think it does need to end. And I would rather see them end it cleanly and just say, yep, that's it. No more Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I'd be down for that if it was a fully fleshed out ending.
That is the qualifier. If it's a fully fleshed out ending and you just end the modern day story somehow, some way, if it's clean, nice, cool. I'm here for it. Glad it's over. If you want to keep moving this and creating more historical playgrounds, I love that. Keep doing that, but let's remove the modern day context from it entirely. No Templar versus Assassin, no Abstergo, no nonsense bullshit.
Well, do a sequel and actually set it in a near future science fiction setting.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That sort of near future setting has so much possibility for an Assassins and Templars conflict.
Assassin's Creed in space.
Maybe not in space. I don't
like
that
space.
as
it
much.
would have to be in space.
Okay.
0G Assassin's Creed.
0G Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the episode.
Yeah, can we say a spoiler from the end of Assassin's Creed 3? I feel like that game's old enough now. But...
You already have. Without a warning.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't finished it, but also I didn't like the story of Assassin's Creed 3. I'm not going to finish it.
So can I say what happened?
Yeah, go ahead.
They just need to bring Desmond back.
Sorry, don't fiddle with anything also.
Okay.
No, that was me, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just need to bring Desmond back, I think. He was the Out of Animus protagonist for 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, and 3. So
the original trilogy, you can just say that.
Yeah, the original trilogy, and then he dies.
Okay, he does die. I thought he'd die, but wasn't sure.
He's definitely dead, but this game's whack enough. They could be like, oh, we cloned him, or someone else was using the Animus and his consciousness is now. There's a dumb sci-fi way they can get around it, and just bring him back so that there is a central protagonist of a story again. And
remind me though, what was this? The Out of Animus story of Assassin's Creed 3, were they trying to stop the sun from exploding?
There was like a solar
Basically,
flare
it was the
or something.
it was the 2012 Doomsday like thing, only in a video game.
Okay, because I remember something about the sun being
Yeah.
really bad.
It was
I
like-
just thought it was a horrible storyline.
Yeah, it was like the precursor society predicted this thing was going to happen and destroy the world, so they did all this stuff to prepare for it, like thousands of years ago or something, and
Forgot to leave instructions. Gotcha.
yeah, and like some I don't even know, but anyway, Desmond like saves everyone and dies in the process. I think it's like this whole like you can not do it and you'll be fine in this bunker thing, and then there'll still be survivors in the world, and then you'll help rebuild humanity, but when you die you'll be remembered as. It kind of became this thing of like you'll turn into a religion of yourself, and then people start fighting over that, and the whole cycle will begin over and over and over again.
Or you can throw yourself into the sun and stop it exploding. Gotcha.
Yeah, I believe that's exactly how it happened. He threw himself into the sun.
You absolutely like Desmond ascends.
Well, he did all
from a
that training for
platform?
like climbing and jumping.
He actually like jumped from a planet above the sun and assassinated it, and that's how it happened, I think.
I can't believe Desmond Miles assassinated the sun.
Yeah, and there's
So the
that
sun
weird
is down,
segment where
not
it was
the
like
whole
this
way.
slow motion thing afterwards, and he was talking to the sun, and then he like collected the sun's blood, and then
Rubbed it on a
I
feather.
forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, excellent. Oh fuck.
But yeah,
Shall we talk? Should we talk about the stuff that I've been playing?
yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
let's.
Holy shit. We're deep into the show. Let's talk about the stuff I've been playing this week. I have been playing Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. That game is amazing. I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. That game is amazing.
It is.
I have been playing The Elder Scrolls Online. That game I don't know how to feel about yet because I've just started it, but it feels good.
You've also been playing one more game that's amazing, and I want you to say its name and say that it is amazing.
What?
Not Shadow of War.
No, it's
Shadow
not
of
Shadow
War.
of War.
Shadow of Mordor.
Not at all this week. Get out of here.
Okay.
Oh, you don't have Shadow of War. Of course, it's Shadow of Mordor. That's your favorite game. I forget. Sorry.
Okay, listen. No. I've been over this. You cannot. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds also is like a thing I've been playing every once in a while, I guess. Watch Dogs 2 as well. I'm at I'm at the end of the second act of that one. That game is going some places. It's really good. I'm looking forward to putting more time into that and finishing like some of these big games that I've been playing through.
Tell me how the first hour of Wolfenstein made you feel.
I was the first person in this house to experience that first hour, and I was not prepared for that. I'm not going to spoil shit, but I was not prepared for any of that. It goes some pretty real and then also like pretty cruel places.
Mm-hmm.
It does things. It made me feel things. It made me feel like genuine surprise and shock. And like some of that was from like there are sequences in that opening hour which are incredibly graphic and disturbing. Is how I would describe that opening hour. But also like just like genuinely surprising, a thing that I had no preconceptions that the game was actually going to do, and then it does it. And it is just such a genuine shock and surprise, and Wolfenstein is very good at that. That is a really good game. Later sequences also just made me feel things. Like there is a sequence later, like fairly early in the game, with a character describing what she saw. This is referenced in Wolfenstein: The New Order, so some spoilers for that. When the Nazis took over America, they dropped an atom bomb in New York City. And the character you're talking to is actually one of the survivors of that nuclear bomb. Because she was underground at the time. And she described coming to the surface. And, like, that sequence made me feel, like, profoundly and profanely sad. Like, oh God, this game is good at making me feel things. It's an ultra-violent first-person shooter that is, like, high energy and very, very aggressive in tone, and also just it takes its time to be somber and be meaningful and be sad and, like, go across a whole spectrum of emotions. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, is very fucking good.
It's incredibly good, is the thing.
It's also very hard. Please, if you're playing this at all, just, like, I don't care how good you are at games, start with the recommended, like, second difficulty and, like, go up from there, I would say. Like, just find your comfort level that way. Is if you are looking for, if you're actively seeking more challenge, start on that second difficulty and just work your way up until you find a level that is suitable for you. Holy shit, that game is fucking intense.
Yeah.
It took me a couple hours to get through the first couple of levels.
There are about 5 or 6 different difficulty settings, but like Jess said, it's incredibly tough. It's probably the hardest Wolfenstein game since, like, the reboot of the last 3 that have come out. Definitely the hardest. And what makes it harder is since it takes that old school approach to health. There's no I think health will regen about 10.
It regens to the nearest, like, 10th.
Nearest 10th, yeah.
So, in Wolfenstein 2, the change from the New Order is that due to reasons and stuff that happens at the end of the first game and leads into the second, you have 50 health rather than the last game's 100, and that hangs around with you. And then for other narrative reasons, you can stack up way more armor, but you don't have as much of a health pool as you used to. So health management is, like, vitally important.
Mm-hmm. It depletes very quickly when you take damage. Like, an enemy will just look at you and you will lose health so quickly. And it definitely makes it harder because there are a finite amount of healing items in whatever combat space you're in, and you can overcharge. If you get, just say you have 50 health and you eat 100 health worth of stuff, you will go to 150, and that will slowly deplete. Oh, reasonably quickly deplete, actually.
It ticks down at, like, a steady rate, so you'll always go back to that 50, but, like, you can overcharge your health, and there is a perk related to that, getting kills while you're overcharged. Like, that requires, I would say, careful management on your side, just because, again, you have finite amounts of health.
Yeah. It's not the kind of game where you can just, like, I'm going to hide behind here and just recover my health every time I take damage. Like, you can get to a point where you're like, oh, cool, I have 10 health and no armor, and I'm stuck this way until I find more health.
I was hitting my head against a wall for a little while because there's a particularly tough enemy very early in the game, and I had entered that fight with 20 health at the last checkpoint that I had, and so, like, after the first few times where, like, I died, I was like, okay, well, I guess the plan is now to just, like, run past them and hope they don't hit me so that I can, like, scrounge the environment for anything. And that strategy worked, and, like, everything panned out in the end, but, like, shit.
I would just say quickly, as a trophy hunter, fuck this game. Because there is a trophy for finishing the game on the Mein Leben difficulty, which is...
Holy shit, I can't believe
this
exists.
Yes, it's the equivalent gameplay challenge as the hardest difficulty, which I think is I Am Death Incarnate, maybe.
No, that's, like... It's...
Because Uber isn't in
something.
this game.
It's Uber, I think, yeah.
I don't think Uber is in this game.
I'm pretty sure it is. Either way, the point is it's the hardest difficulty, then there's a set of what I would call heroic modifiers.
It's permadeath,
What?
And this is a situation where you can basically die in like 2 bullets. Like that's how permadeath, no checkpoints, no manual saves. So you have to finish the entire 10-hour game at the very least 10-hour game, unless you use like skips and stuff in one run in one sitting, and you can die incredibly quickly. And like there are a lot of sections in the game. I'll dial that back a bit since I'm not very far into it. There are sections in the game where stealth isn't an option. You're sort of thrown into a situation where like, hey, enemies know where you are and they are going to attack you. So while a chunk of a game can be played from a stealth perspective, and like I'm just going to try not to alert anyone, and
yeah, I'm going to like stealthily throw hatchets into these Nazis' backs.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking to it, a Nazi and a hatchet, and they're all very fun.
Yep. I saw many things that you can do with a Nazi and a hatchet. It turns out they did a lot of things with a Nazi and a hatchet. And, they are all so good.
Yeah. But yeah, the point is like there are sexuations, I was going to say. Sections.
That's not a...
Sections, situations. It was a... Yeah, anyway.
Sexuations.
Where you would just be swarmed by enemies, and it's incredibly rough. It's very, very rough, and I could foresee them patching this at some point, like adding saves to it or changing it in some way, because it seems basically impossible in its current state.
Yeah, that is not good. No. I imagine it's fine on PC. Like I bet you
could use like save states or something somehow.
I wasn't even thinking that. Just like it would be easier to play on PC. Like there is a level of precision which is not present in a console version of any game.
But still the like you'd still have to sit there and play it for 10 hours without making a single mistake, kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but like I'm saying it would still be I think that would be still easier on PC than it is on PS4.
Yeah. I've playing it on such a hard difficulty has made me reevaluate the stealth in this game. Like I really enjoyed it in the previous ones just because the game wasn't so hard, but like you just like you don't have any kind of like other games have maybe made me to like you don't have any magical sense to see people through walls or like a radar or anything.
Or an awareness meter.
No,
or anything,
yeah.
Any of the like modern stealth conveniences, shall we call them?
Yeah.
There's none of that.
So it's very easy to mess up stealth. Like it's really, really fun to play in stealth, but it's very easy to be like, oh, I had no idea this guy was here, and now he's seen me, and now, even though I've killed him, he maybe yelled at the last second, and now everyone's aware of me.
But ultimately, I feel like the game is most enjoyable when it is not in stealth. Like, the stealth is fine for, like, setting up your assault. Yeah, and then as soon as the commanders are dead, like, the commanders can broadcast alarms, right? But as soon as the commanders are dead, it's like, well, now it's time to pull out my dual-wielded assault rifles, and I'm going to mow down every motherfucker in this building.
Playing on normal? Absolutely, but trying to do the mind-leaving thing.
Playing it on harder? Yeah, no. That is a death wish. Yeah. But playing it on normal, the like good way to play this game.
Absolutely.
Anything else is just actively frustrating for me. Like I'm on medium for experienced gamers. There's like a medium for casuals and medium for experienced gamers, and I'm on that, and I'm still dying a lot.
Speaking of casuals, I'm no casual. I played Demon Souls.
Oh God, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah, very good.
Is that an easier platinum than Dark Souls is, because you don't have to do any of the Covenant bullshit?
Yeah, it's 100% easier.
Yeah, you don't have to do any like online garbage to make that work. So that's actually a plus, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still some annoying, like, farmer's enemy for this item things, but nothing as bad as, like... Yeah, nothing as bad as the Dark Souls ones.
What you were saying before, Jess, about that that scene in Wolfenstein, we're talking about the survivor of the bomb. It must be quite different, because it's a real city. It must be quite different for players who live in that real city. That's not something we really experience in New Zealand. There aren't any games set here, ever.
I imagine that there is that sort of phenomenon. And I imagine there would also be the phenomenon, like, I'm about to enter a sequence where I'm about to enter yet another real-ass city, Roswell, New Mexico. And I imagine that there are people who live there who then have an additional layer of, like, appreciation for those scenes. For sure.
Always seems to be America that gets these settings.
It must be so surreal, though. I remember hearing an interview with Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of Hamilton, saying, like, oh yeah, when I first got to, I think it was LA, he was lost, and then he was like, oh, wait a minute, this looks like Grand Theft Auto, and he found his way around because it was the same city as, like, San Andreas or something. And
Los Santos, yeah.
Yeah, so it must be so... Or even, like, Fallout 3 being, oh, okay, this is the memorial pool. Is that what it's called in Washington, D.C. with the big...
I don't know what it's called.
Something
but
like
I know
that,
what you're referring
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
By the Washington Monument, right?
Yeah.
That big old vampire spike.
I also imagine, like, Boston and Fallout 4 would have been like that. I wonder how, like, Horizon, like, people who, like, I haven't reached this reveal yet, but from what I understand of Horizon, there is a point at which it reveals to you, oh, hey, this location that we are in, it's very much like a real location.
Only
like,
sort of, and it's only in side content from what I recall.
Okay, but it's, like, tangibly tied to a real location, though, is the point. So I wonder if people who, like, know that geography then also, again, have that, like, increased level of appreciation for that game because it's like, oh, this takes place so close to home.
I'm pretty sure that the geography has very little in common with that place nowadays. I think it was very much made for the game and then, oh, we'll say it was here kind of deal.
Right.
Like, you know, it's all enclosed by mountains and stuff like that, just so that you can't leave the play area and things, whereas I think in real life it's not like that.
It's been a while since I've played it, but I couldn't remember any... Do you want to say what location it was?
I don't recall what location it was. I do remember it was in that side content where you go and find the... what are they called? Not visions or something. Like you climb up to an area, there's an eye icon, and you like
right.
see a hologram of the space as it was, and hear an audio recording. One of them, I think, like one of the last ones you get access to, because I think it might be
was the one of
story mission.
like Shitstorm Day 4.
Yeah.
One of those things, a pocket shit or something like that.
Yeah, it's one of those that mentions the place it's in later on. But like, they could have just not done that and had it been in a made-up place, and I think it would have been basically the same. I kind of wish they hadn't said where it was and had it left kind of ambiguous, or as its own made-up space that doesn't need to be tied to anything. But no, they did. I just don't remember where it was. If it was set in New Zealand, I'd fucking remember where it was. But it's not set in New Zealand, I will tell you that much.
Do we have any other questions or anything about Wolfenstein?
Have you found any of the secret, like, audio collectible things?
I've only found a couple of the, like, star card collectibles. I haven't found much of anything.
Okay. You can find songs. I'm not sure if they're all in German, or if they're actual records.
Oh, are the Beatles but German back?
I'm not sure.
Is that, please tell me that's their name?
It's
Beatles
not.
but German.
Yeah.
It's not, but, like, there is definitely they're in Wolfenstein, the New Order, there are references to a band which is very clearly the Beatles, but German.
So, Jess, do we have anything in the inbox this week?
We actually do.
Cool. What do we have?
So we actually have a series of 3 questions from Mary Jen. Thank you very much, Mary Jen, for sending us questions. If you want to send us questions, pausecastshow@gmail.com. First question. What are you most excited about in Wolfenstein 2? I think I've covered a bunch of that stuff. Hatchets and Nazis, baby. Hatchets and Nazis.
Wolfenstein is also one of those games where it's like... It's one of the few games where I sit back and go, okay, what is this going to do? This is going to have some pretty interesting narrative twists.
Yeah, no, like, I mentioned earlier how, like, good Wolfenstein was at, like, legit just, like, shocking me and doing things that I would not ever have expected it to do, because it's a video game. And video games don't do certain things, and Wolfenstein says, fuck that. We'll actually do those certain things. We will... I can't even say it. It's the week of release. I can't say what happens. But, like, there are things that you would expect a video game would never actually do, and Wolfenstein says, fuck you, and then does the thing. Which is good. It's shocking. That game, like, the New Order went really, really unexpected and well-developed places. And I imagine the new Colossus will continue to do so. Like, it's already going there. It's going hard. I am looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, do you think you're going to pick it up at any point?
I don't think I do. Just I'm not hugely into first-person shooters, and I'm also not hugely into gratuitous violence, which it sounds like this is a good mix of those two.
Yeah.
And the other stuff is good, but I don't think it's my sort of game.
I think that's fair. There's definitely some very gratuitous violence.
Yeah, it's kind of what I expected.
Yeah, it's a good game, but like, yeah, it's don't go into it expecting like it's all sparkles and rainbows. It's a lot of disturbing blood and guts.
Sparkles and Painbows.
Sparkles and Painbows.
Yes.
Oh, good Christ. Question number 2. How do you
2?
feel? We have 3 in this.
Oh,
it's 3
dang.
in here.
Yeah.
Question number 2. How do you feel about games that focus less on high-intensity gameplay and instead focus on making the player feel good or like they're having fun? Like the Cooking Mama series.
I don't know that series.
It's a series which involves a variety of like cooking mini games.
Okay.
And you do things like chop the vegetables and fry your onions, stuff like that. It's a sequence of little mini games, and you make a little meal, and then your meal is judged by the Cooking Mama.
Okay.
Yeah, like those games are really interesting. I think we also kind of covered this in our Animal Crossing discussion.
A bit, I suppose. Although I haven't played
like a
Animal
little
Crossing
bit,
so much.
a little bit.
I like games that drop the high intensity and let you go at your own pace a bit more. I really like it when games have that, and like sandboxy stuff. So, like, you know, playing Minecraft, especially in creative, when you don't have to worry about being blown up by bloody creepers and stuff like that. Sorry, peaceful. I meant not creative, because I do like the survival mode of it. Games like Stardew Valley, which is not like high intensity, super fast gameplay by any means. Stuff like that I really like. It's it can be less adversarial, which is really nice as well. It makes for quite a positive experience. Yeah, I like when games do that quite a lot. I try to look out for them, pick them up when I can.
Yeah, I really like the Animal Crossing series and Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon, back when I used to play Harvest Moon. And like games like City Skylines even aren't super high intensity. They're just like focused on letting you kind of run your own city.
City Skylines is so nice for letting you pace yourself.
They offer like a good set of challenges and a good like flexibility to it as well.
It's like you've got that demand stuff, so it's like, hey, if you want to expand, here's how to do it. But if you don't, nothing goes wrong. It's fine. I like that.
Ash, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, could you repeat the question just so I answer within the parameters of what it asks?
Yeah. How do you feel about games that focus less on high-intensity gameplay and focus more instead on making the player feel good or like they're having fun? Such as the Cooking Mama series.
Okay. Like, yeah, Animal Crossing, I think I would have mentioned again. Does Night in the Woods qualify?
I mean, I guess, yeah. That's not a super high intensity... Like, it's not a super high intensity game. Even, like, Gone Home or, like, other quote-unquote walking simulators, I feel like would then fall into that. But I don't know that they're explicitly about, like, having fun rather than telling a story. Like, Night in the Woods, I would not describe as a fun game.
Yeah, because there are some sad things in that.
But also, like, it's kind of, like, a central theme of Night in the Woods is how boring small towns are.
Yeah, there are a lot of dark themes. I'm just trying to think of the having fun thing, because it's low intensity. I'm just trying to think of a game that actually...
I feel like Animal Crossing is, like, really fun. Even though, like, the central thesis of that game is do chores, make money, buy things.
Yeah.
That's not a joke. That's what you do in that game. It's like, hey, like, I'm going to talk to my animal friends. What's this? My animal friend over here needs a favor? They need a present run across town to another animal? Sure, I'll go do that. I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to go catch bugs. All of these are like little things. I'm going to clean up the house. I'm going to pick the weeds from my town. Little chores. But you still have fun doing that, and it's relaxing and not at all high intensity because there's very little time pressure on that stuff. There's stuff that resets daily, but even then, it's still low intensity enough that, like, you can just kind of chill.
Yeah. I think for me, there are sometimes things. Like, every now and again, I'll like to play a low-intensity game, or like a walking simulator, like you said, but I
hate using that word. So.
Yeah, it's such an unfair term, isn't it?
Yeah. I just used it. Because
I know it's like it's an unfair term. I hate having to use it, but also people know what it means.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I'll play one and then I'll be like, okay, I'm good on that type of game for the next long period of time. Like I played, what was one of the first ones? It was like Dear Esther, wasn't it?
Dear Esther and Gone Home were like the first ones of this new like wave.
Yeah, I played like Dear Esther and then I was like, oh, I enjoyed that. I don't really want to play another game like this for a while. And I played Gone Home. Unpopular opinion, I think it's a bit overrated. But
I haven't played it.
Yeah, it was a PS Plus game as well, so it was free, and I was still a little bit cold on it. Stanley Parable, I don't know if that qualifies as a...
It absolutely does.
I love that. Stanley Parable is very, very good. But yeah, I have to have a cooldown period. It's funny that like they're chilled games, but I need a long cooldown period afterwards, just so I don't get burned out on them. But I could play Wolfenstein and then play like Origins and then PUBG or whatever, which are all reasonably high.
Yeah, there's a point to which I come to games for like a specific kind of high energy, and then there's a point to which I want to relax. And it's like games like Firewatch and Gone Home and all of those. I love those games. But I think I'm with Ashe in that they don't have necessarily the kind of energy that I expect or that I want out of games. Not that I expect out of games, but that I would like to see when I come into a game. So I'm with Ashe in that, like, yeah, I typically have a long cooldown on these things, but I really love them when I play them. But then I really take my time to cool off. Yeah. Animal Crossing is an interesting exception, but I think that the gameplay loop of Animal Crossing is usually so good that like I can have several weeks of playing that game, And then I'll finally want to put it down and do something else, but like I can play that game for a long time.
I think that gameplay loop is basically that whole positive reinforcement, feel good, like having fun part of this question that was mentioned, right? Because there's the low intensity, and then there's also that, hey, it's an experience about feeling good and having fun. It's not necessarily telling a story that might go some hard places or anything like that. It's just, hey, you're playing a game, you're doing good, everything's positive, it's really good.
Yeah,
that kind of aspect of it.
There's always some little thing around the corner. Whether that's, like, even if it's, like, a thing that you don't want, like, oh, I already have this shirt, or, oh, I don't really like this piece of furniture that I got as a reward. It's like, well, that's also just additional money, which then puts you towards other things.
Actually, another game that I think I would say is not high intensity and also has that fun, feeling good kind of thing. Pokemon games. I feel like they'd fit in there, and I enjoy them quite a lot.
I don't know, like the JRPG aspects of that game they can get really intense, especially if you start applying your own rule sets to them. So stuff like Nuzlocke runs and stuff like that.
I don't do that.
I think it's all fun and games until you inevitably meet the one trainer that has a mill tank with rollout that just wipes like half your party. It's like, well, okay, sure.
Fucking mill tank. Eventually Miss Beekman will die. Your precious, precious bird, Miss Beekman, who you loved since the beginning of the game. The Pidgey that you raised will eventually be killed.
By a
the silver Pidgey
Kingler.
That got away like 15 years ago.
God.
I haven't forgotten. I think it was silver. It was definitely a shiny one.
My cousin used the Master Ball on a Pidgey. She's like, I didn't know it was special. I was like, it was called the Master Ball.
Did they like their Pokemon that they caught?
I don't know. I don't know.
I hope they did.
I hope so too.
Should we get to the third question?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Let's go to our third question here. Third question. What is a game that you've played recently that really stuck with you and had you thinking about it and its message long after you finished it?
Horizon Zero Dawn. I still think about that game every day.
Huh. I'm looking forward to seeing why that is the case. Ash, do you have anything in mind?
I'm thinking. Because, like, Horizon definitely, when I finished that, I thought about it for quite a while afterwards.
I've got a note in my phone where I've got a note called Remember in my phone, and it's got a few just little phrases and a couple of quotes, and one of them is a quote from the end of Horizon Zero Dawn, because it's something I want to remember.
That was a really good one. I remember that.
Yeah.
I think that mine is going to be Night in the Woods.
Oh, yeah, I know it's me too, definitely.
Like, that game has a lot of things to say about, like, small towns and, like, the mediocrity of those small towns. It has stuff to say about, like, growing up in those small towns and, like, what that means and what it's like to, like...
Be queer in small towns.
Be queer in small towns, yeah. Like, when I was, like, a small trans, like, baby, and I didn't know at all what was, like, what I was supposed to do, I just kept constantly thinking about, like, I could move to a bigger city and there would be more people like me. And right now, I'm in this small, shitty town, and I don't know where to find other people like me. And that is a scary experience, actually. Like, if you've not had that experience, consider yourself very fortunate. Mm-hmm. But, like, it is a unique experience to the small town queer that, like, you maybe have the dawning realization of your queerness, and then you have the second dawning realization of, oh fuck, I don't know anybody else like me. or how to find out that anybody else is like me. And I'm in a small town, and the town is probably, like, there's probably a good portion of this town that is religious and not as liberal as some bigger cities tend to be. And so, like, what do I do about this? And that is something that Night in the Woods, like, really addresses, and, like, it addresses, like, a bit of not wanting to grow up, a bit of, like, having an old friend come back and just wanting things to go back to the way that they were, but not really ever being able to.
Yeah, it very much taps into the, like, early 20s, like, oh, I'm technically an adult now, but, like, doesn't feel that way, and college wasn't what I thought it would be, and...
I'm in my late 20s, and that's still true.
Yeah. Yeah, just, like, I hate using this word because it's always said so pejoratively, I feel like a millennial kind of feel. Millennials.
Wow.
That whole kind of experience, as well as, like, beyond that, just, like, the experience of parents, like, oh, I'm trying to do the best we can, but there's, like, these financial situations, and then there's
all these factors in the way.
Like,
and,
businesses
like,
being closed down, and the effect that it can have of small towns.
Yeah, having like the small town establishment that then goes away, and, like, some bigger chain comes in and they, like, just open up, and it's like, wow, we have this like chain now.
Yeah, I saw.
Wow, what a weird experience that is.
I saw a lot of myself in a lot of different characters in that game, including the goth teens.
I can attest to how, like, the goth aesthetic is very strong with you. Having now dated you for over a year, like, it's very strong is the thing. I actually wrote a piece ages ago about my experience with Night in the Woods, and, like, the specific experience of really, really relating to May, who is the protagonist of that game.
Yeah, I think about Greg every day. He's a very good boy.
I want to see if I can find a, like, quote from the article that I wrote about, like, a kind of, like, introspection and reflection on what A Night in the Woods meant to me. I'll link this in the show notes as well.
Oh, while we're speaking on it, Night in the Woods is also getting a free update for everyone that owns it. Early December.
Yeah, the weird autumn edition.
Yeah, which I think is adding in some additional content, and I think also the free things that were previously out.
They are adding in the side stories, Lost Constellation and Longest Night. Some parts and scenes from those side stories are going to become part of the main game.
I believe it's also on sale right now. It's the first sale it's ever had. So, I think that's what they tweeted. So maybe, like, have a look on Steam if you're interested in the game. I think it's a must play.
I would definitely agree with it being a must play, especially if you're, like, of the age that you are listening to this podcast.
Yeah, like, even with all the games that have come out this year, it would still be in my top 5 of 2017.
Yeah. God, Night in the Woods was this year, huh?
Yeah.
Fuck me. What a good year. Let's see. I have, like, a paragraph from the article that I wrote about Night in the Woods now as well that I can, like, read about, like, I'm just gonna read this bit from what I wrote about this game. As I delved further into Night in the Woods, I found that May's friends provided more to think about in my life. And sometimes it was being an anchor in my relationships. Other times it was dealing with feelings of aimlessness and questions of purpose. thinking about the friends I had and then just moved on from, vanishing from their lives, sometimes reappearing a couple of years later. The feeling of reuniting with a friend you haven't talked to. The mundaneness of small-town life, alleviated only by having a few friends that you can be close to. The feeling that your friends are changing, and you're stuck in the past. The feeling that you're the one that got left behind, even when you tried to move ahead. The disconnect of being somewhere new, and the comfort of home. The messiness of life. The feeling that the ground you stand on shifts beneath you, and you'll be swallowed by it. And even now, I continue to think about these things. Night in the Woods is simply the vehicle that brought me here, and for that, I'm grateful. Like I said, this piece is going to be linked to the show notes. It's a few thoughts on how Night in the Woods made me feel. It made me feel a lot of things. Greg rules, okay. I would recommend playing the game first and then coming back and reading this article and seeing how I specifically related to it. But yeah, that game is a lot. I would play it. Just play that game. So the gist of this third question is just play Night in the Woods.
And Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Go play Night in the Woods, especially though. I can't speak to Horizon. Do you want to talk about what made Horizon stick out for you, Mark? If you can do so without spoiling anything.
I think just as a very general thing, I think Horizon had a good exploration for me in terms of finding or separating what's important from what's not important, what it means to do the right thing and why, I guess. I don't know if everyone will get that experience out of it, but I got that out of it, I think, and I know I really appreciated it. There's some small things from that game that have stuck with me since I finished it. Like that thing that I mentioned that I've got in my phone, which Ash, I'm sure you know which bit I'm referring to from what you said. I think I even mentioned it on the show after I finished it. But yeah, I mean, it's also just a good, I enjoyed the combat and the setting and stuff, but in general, the themes of the story and particularly the main protagonist's progression through it, I really enjoyed, and they felt really meaningful for me.
Yeah, the way that game handles, I don't know if you call them flashbacks necessarily, because you're finding, sort of audio and video logs, but, a lot of games will do...
It's archaeology.
Really. Yeah, it's archaeology, kind of. But yeah, it is, actually.
It is archaeology.
It is. It does it better than almost any game I can think of, just the way it delves into what's come before and does it in, a really intriguing...
And then you've got the additional layer of Aloy's relationship to all of that as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, play Horizon Zero Dawn. Basically.
I'm glad that I'm playing it now, and I'm
glad that you're playing it now. I'm so looking forward to more of it with the DLC. I don't know where it's going to go, but yeah.
Do you know if it's set after the main game, or is it a side?
I don't know. I've avoided looking. I assume it is, but I don't know. I'm assuming it's going to be set after the main game, but not a continuation of the main story, because I'm expecting there will be a sequel that does that continuation.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could be, like the Arrival DLC for Mass Effect 2. It's possible.
Yeah, I just looked at the description for it. It's very vague. Doesn't really say.
Good. It should be vague.
All right, shall we wrap up?
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this all up. Thank you so much for listening to this extra long, it looks like, episode of PauseCast. If you like the show and what we're doing and what we're talking about, please consider becoming a patron. This show is entirely supported by our patrons, and it means a lot whenever we get people who are throwing even $1 a month at us. It's a really great feeling, and we really appreciate all the support that we are getting. We are just $3 away from our next goal as well, so if you wanted to help kick us towards that, that would be amazing. And you can do that for less than a coffee a month. How awesome is that? Thank you so much to all of our patrons. Sammy, Mary, Noah Holmes, Rezidoke, Ashe, Laminated Moth, PD, and Allerdrain for their continuing support of the show. It means a lot to us. Mark.
Yeah.
You exist online. First, do you want to plug your project again one more time?
You
talked about it at the top of the show, but do you want to talk about your project again just one more time?
Yep. So I've made a guide to how to use the Official Information Act to ask the New Zealand government for information. If you think you might want to do that at any point, you can find this at oia.nz. I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I write a blog that's not about video games at honestuniverse.com.
And Ashe, where can people find you online?
At the Queerest Deer on Twitter.
And you can find me online at bird.school. You can find us every Thursday when we stream PauseCast live. This week was a bit of an exception, so I would like to apologize for that. But when we stream it, you can find us live Thursday at 8 p.m. New Zealand time. And that is at live.bird.school. And then I have regular streams every week. So feel free to come out and check out that channel.
Music.
As always, Mark coming in with the save. Thank you so much to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. You can download some of Leon's music for free and listen to a lot of it at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. And that's going to do it for us this week on PauseCast. Thank you so much for listening to our 62nd episode, and we will see you next week.
Bye.